position in the logistics space. Kim had just finished engineering, and she was kind of going into a very corporate engineering space. And then the whole time while we were kind of talking through this project and how we wanted to apply this technology to that last mile supply chain, we said we want to remain fun and creative and not fall trapped to this whole corporate mentality. So we kind of picked up the word bunga every time we had a little breakthrough, you know. So it was kind of like a little, you know, excitement kind of phrase we used, and I suppose that's where it just kind of stuck. That's what the platform should be called.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think secondly to that, you know, we are selling to these big corporates, so it would be quite nice to go to, you know, a goal was, you know, if we ever build this and get this to market, imagine going to a massive corporate company and getting one of these big CEO guys to these big tar to say we're going to partner with Cowabunga. That would be quite a nice experience, and I suppose, I mean, it's happened once or twice now with some of our clients, and I mean, definitely the effect was great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't come from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle generation, but my brother does, and so I got very used to Kawabanga being shouted, at various times in the day. And yeah, no, I totally get that. It's kind of like a goofy name, but it's a kind of triumphant. So yeah, that I can definitely see the appeal. So guys, as you can imagine, I had to do a bit of background research. And so Bradley, I saw that you once worked for Aramex.
Yeah, that was pretty much my main corporate experience. I did work for them for a few years across various jobs within their business, from sales, and then at the end of it, I actually ran a few of their product divisions.
Okay. And would you say that experience in some way led you to Kawabanga?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I was in that environment while Kim and I were talking about about Cowabunga and this creative idea, and it was just so interesting to see how quick we were able to progress through this. Whereas a corporate company like that, you're just unable to progress and create these disruptive platforms within an organization like that. So, I mean, for me, that was quite a defining moment in crossing over from corporate to, this disruptive startup technology space.
Right, that's right. Yeah, it's just one of those things that like no experience is ever wasted. So it's great
100%.
to see when that sort of manifests like in real
Mm.
life stories. So that's very cool. And Kimberly, tell me, how does a chemical engineer end up as the co-founder of a company of last mile delivery of things? How did that happen?
So, in my third year is actually probably when I fell in love with programming, and actually where this idea started, I guess. I don't know if you've ever heard of the traveling salesman problem. Have you?
No, no, I haven't.
So it's basically, a traveling salesman has 10 places to go to. What's the best route he can take? And it's actually a problem that still hasn't been solved to today, from what I understand. And I had it as a project to write a program, an algorithm to solve and find the best route for this traveling salesman. And absolutely, I mean, I fell in love with programming at that stage, and solving problems, and yeah, I think it's nice to get a problem and not be able to Google it, and have to use your brain to figure out, how do we work through this. And at that point, I asked Brad. I'm just telling you, I guess, some of the story here, but at that point, I knew Brad, and I asked him if they were using like route optimization techniques in the logistics space.
Okay.
So I guess that's how it started. I think I have an insane love for solving problems, and I think in our business, specifically within last mile supply chain, there are so many frustration points, and so much opportunity to be creative, and solve these problems, which is what I love. So I think maybe that's how the journey got there. That answers your question.
Totally, totally. So yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of the traveling salesman problem, but in my research, I did come across the last mile problem. So I assume it's kind of more or less the same thing, or is it different?
I think it is different.
I think it's different. One is the traveling salesman strictly in terms of optimization of points along a route.
Yeah.
If that's correct in saying.
Yes,
Whereas
yeah.
I think the last mile logistics supply chain is a much more broader of a challenge.
Yeah.
There's so many things that come into play that incur costs to these companies. You know, in what way are you creating this delivery or collection? What is the customer experience? How do you get customers closer to the goods? I mean, we could literally spend 3 hours in telling you the complexities within that space. And I suppose the goal of the Cowabunga has been is how do we make as many touch points along that as possible in the most simple way possible, as at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think just in terms of last mile, it is where most of 80% of the cost sits, from what I
80%
understand.
of the total supply chain sits within
That. So it's because of all the inefficiency along that section. That's where you incur all those costs. A lot of visibility issues, a lot of communication issues, and what we really aim to do at Cowabunga is utilize technology to its fullest in whichever way we can in order to digitize, create more visibility, create better communication, and in turn take out costs from that section of the supply chain.
I see. So leading on from there, so looking at the existing last mile solutions to that problem, looking at those solutions, what did you see as the gap, and what was that sort of your vision of how you could fill the gaps that weren't being filled by other solutions at that time?
So I think we stumbled upon quite a unique gap there. So there's a lot of guys that focus strictly on kind of delivery optimization, and they focus just on that. So how do they go to a company and give you the best route possible to create the shortest amount of kilometers? There's quite a few people doing that. That, however, doesn't really give you a kind of configured experience. It doesn't really give the driver any digitization experience, and it definitely doesn't give the consumer an experience. If you try and look at the guys that are applying technology more holistically across that, you're looking at these kind of last mile aggregators. And I think what they try and do is they have one set of rules, and that rule and what they do is they apply as many vehicles as they can to get this kind of one request to one delivery. Guys like your Ubers and your Mr. D's and those kind of guys. How do you create one order to one delivery? I think we kind of start in the middle of that. So what we do is we go to big companies with big volumes, and we say, cool, let's first start with identifying exactly what your customer's specific requirement is within this last mile logistics. So how do we get the inputs and make it tailored to you? How do we optimize as many aspects as we can for you? How do we send that information to the driver to further assist him in his day? We give him turn-by-turn navigation. We give him call functions. We give them whatever we can to make their day as simple as possible. And then lastly, there's a huge focus on the customer and what the experience is for them, knowing when their parcel is going to get there. Have a direct line to the driver, have a direct line to the person that dispatched your goods. And I think what we do, and I think it's very awesome, what we do is no one else is really doing, is we white label this technology and we give it to the customers. So what they're doing is essentially they're extending their reach to their customer base. We're giving them the ability to apply technology within their own business and maintain that relationship with their customers through the entire supply chain.
So yeah, I mean, from what I can from the way you explain it, it's obviously quite a unique offering, because a lot of companies are going through a third party, which obviously becomes riddled with all kinds of things that could go wrong. Was that your sort of objective, to kind of take away that extra step?
So I think, can you just say that again? I just want to make sure I'm answering your question. You say,
Yeah, I'm just saying that, yeah, from everything I read up on the topic, it looked like part of the main issue within the last mile problem was that a lot of retailers were creating the product, whatever it was, and then it was being passed on to a service, some other kind of service provider, so some kind of delivery
Yes.
company or courier company, and then that product was being taken to the customer. And from what I read, the idea was that it becomes more streamlined, so that the creator of the product, the retailer, um, has just one channel, so they have complete control of the product rather than passing it onto a courier service.
Yeah, 100. I mean, maybe I could just quickly jump in
Yeah.
here just on the retail side. So I think there's a very unique opportunity at the moment within that retail space as you're speaking there. Um,
Mm.
the way that these retailers are doing is they're obviously heavily focused on the whole original brick and mortar. And what they're
Right.
trying to do is convert overnight. So how do they also provide this e-commerce because their customer base is wanting it? And I think what they're finding is the way that their supply chain set up is, stocks moved from a manufacturing plant into their retail centers around the country. They have software that kind of monitors that stock and make sure that at the store level they have the least amount of stock available to make sure that all the customers that are coming into their stores are fulfilled with that need. There's a huge complexity and a huge mindset change when you convert that kind of methodology to this e-commerce. So what they're actually doing now is it's becoming quite costly and challenging. Is where a person would go on and buy a garment from a retailer. They would have to find where the nearest one is to that in relation to their logistics partners hub is. And
Yes.
a lot of the time you see kind of stock, as an example, would literally land in the Durban harbour port, be broken down, sent all the way to Joburg, to a store somewhere up here, who then might be purchased again from someone in Durban, or will go back down in the line haul into a hub and spoke logistics network and then out. So the first of all, the distance that garment has to move to get to the eventual customer is extremely far, which is time and cost. So what our software is allowing now, especially within these retail centers, is now what you can do is, if we understand where these stock levels are, and you have a dedicated fleet which provides the cost-effective and efficient solution, we can pick up that stock for you and get that to your customer from the mall directly. So it's just it's a lot smarter option, even though we're going to be using, because we don't offer fleet. We're strictly a software company. We don't offer. It's going to definitely be with a courier company. We just give them the smarts to make that possible. I hope that answers that question. I just want to give a bit of context on the challenge within the retail space. We're really changing the way in which they communicate to their end customer.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. Yeah,
Might
we're
have gone a bit off there. I'm sorry.
no, that was perfect. I was just gonna say that we basically the software that aids these courier companies, either if that courier company is outsourced or if it's your own. Let's take fast food for example, and they are your own drivers. So we're the software that aids more intelligent planning. And optimization. No. And I think that varies, and I think that's where Cowabunga really differentiates is we try to understand. We're not saying giving you a one solution to all these companies. Is we try to understand, are we dealing with live high volume deliveries? Then we create quite a dynamic algorithm that deals with planning on the fly, or do we have something like what Brad was describing, that retail section, and then we need to understand geographics, and we need to understand where drivers are geographically, and we have to, and customers are, and we have to build quite an intricate network to try and understand how to plan and save costs in terms of unnecessary drive time. Or we have routes that are quite static, and we just plan them for the day, and we're just giving you optimal routes, and on average we save an hour and a half drive time just for express deliveries in the morning. So that's kind of where we're sitting, is that in between software that aids these fulfillment partners in doing those last mile deliveries.
I see. No, 100%. Yeah, I thank you very much. That really explained it, because I yeah, I was kind of, from everything I'd read, I was imagining that the software was being was being made for retailers who don't want to use a courier. But you're saying it's for both types.
Mm.
Yes.
People who are using a courier, and people who also are streamlining it and making it an omni-channel. Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, 100%. I think we're just taking a bit of a different approach. So at the moment, you can either go the original route of I hand all my goods over to a logistics company, they put it into their network and distribute for you. But
Right.
then on the other side, at the moment, all that really is available to provide that omni-channel is these kind of aggregators. And what they do is, and then you're looking at like, I suppose, an Uber Rush or, you know, a Mr. Delivery. And the way that they do it is they look at it as one solution holistically. You feed your bill, they'll create the volume, you add it into their network and they'll drop it off. What we're kind of saying is we want to do something that's a little bit more bespoke to that specific
Okay.
client. If you took a specific retailer, for example, how can we give that specific retailer the same experience as this kind of Mr. D and Uber Eats or Uber Rush environment, but we make it dedicated. So I'm picking up a Edgar's t-shirt and there's an Edgar's delivery that goes to that customer. So we kind of merging the two together. We're merging the courier and the logistics with the software platform, but we're making it kind of direct to customer, that exact experience. I hope that explains it. I don't think I'm
Yeah,
explaining it
perhaps
100% correctly. I'm sorry.
no, you've covered everything I was kind of wondering about. So then the next thing I want to know about is I believe the Cowabunga ideation and funding process started about 3 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That
tell
was,
me, sorry.
no, sorry for interrupting.
Okay. So, and prior to engaging with AfroLabs, had you tried any other type of software product, or was AfroLabs your first stop?
We actually got referred to AfroLabs. What we actually, when this whole project started, it was, I suppose, maybe we can just quickly go back to how this whole thing started. I mean, literally,
Right.
it started with myself and Kim just wanting to know more than turning it into a business. It was more, we had this kind of, again, what Kim was talking, she has this, this massive passion for solving a problem, and it just got into, I wanted to solve it with her. From there, we kind of saw, well, hey, this is actually something that potentially might be able to be turned into a business. We spoke to someone up in Joburg who actually referred us to Pillay-Ellis down in Cape Town.
Okay.
So initial conversations were with Pillay-Ellis, who actually in turn put us onto AfroLabs. Reason being is I believe they work quite closely together, and the CEO of Pillay-Ellis knew that AfroLabs had developed, I suppose, a base stack of software that we could have purchased, which could have fast-tracked and saved us some money. So that's when we got in touch with AfroLabs, and yeah, I've been with them ever since. So I think we probably got introduced to them about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, but just about 2.5 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just need to close the windows. Just give me 1 second. There's some drilling going on right outside the window. Just 1 second.
No way.
No problem.
Um, okay. Um, okay. So the next thing is moving on to the actual experience with AfroLab. Talk me through your experience. What were your expectations, your concerns, the obstacles?
I mean, I think for both of us, just not being from that industry at all, it was quite scary. At first, we just didn't know what to expect. You don't know who to trust. You don't know. You just don't understand really the process. But I can tell you, and we meet a lot of startups, and they always have absolute horror stories about software development, and we don't have a single one. Our experience with AfroLabs has been incredible. Incredible.
From start to finish. I mean, it's been amazing.
Amazing. Like the team, I can't tell you how grateful we are and how often we talk about how lucky we feel that we got put in touch with them and they were the ones who are part of this journey. yeah, and especially because we just didn't know the industry and understand, you know, what could have happened. And I mean, we've heard lots of terrible stories and, you know, going over budgets and just a whole bunch of complicated things. But Afro Labs has been incredible. I mean, they're incredibly intelligent, and how they've built the software is incredible, but their support constantly, inputs.
I think just breaking it down as well, again, what Kim was saying earlier, we don't come from the industry, you know.
Yeah.
Like Kim is an engineer, she has coding experience, but none of this, never done any of this front end, you know, all these crazy PHP app. I still don't know any of it. And they've just been so awesome in kind of guiding us through, this is what we're going to do, this is the technical aspect, but for you to understand what you need to go and tell your customers, this is what the software is going to do, and this is the experience they're going to have. And I think that's gone a long way to make sure that the solution we provide to our clients is correct.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of giving this is what it needs to look like in terms of the engineering and the logistics. They then go and do, and they're very confident in that they can go and do that. They then produce it and show it back to us in a very simple way that we're able to go and on-sell. So I think for us to literally be able to work in Joburg and sign up clients that we're signing up and working with these companies that we're working with, and literally we literally got to a point now we're so comfortable with Afro Labs, it's all done by email.
Yeah.
We have an incredible working relationship.
And it goes such a long way for when we're selling our products and our software, and how confident we feel in our platform, and how confident we feel in that, you know, what Afro Labs will be able to support us in further development down the line. It makes a massive difference when we're selling, to have them, you know, part of our team, and we really do feel like they're 100% part of the success of Kawabanga.
David obviously is going to be over the moon, hearing about all these things. And I mean, I must say, I'm not in a startup space, but my husband's a developer who works at Afro Labs, and when they were looking for a copywriter, that's how this whole relationship came about. So I do know that it is a very frustrating experience for a lot of people who have a great concept, but they don't know anything about, or not very much about coding. And I know things can go, pear-shaped. So it's great that you guys, that the first people you worked with were Afro Labs. They're a very passionate bunch of people. So that's awesome.
Can I just add one thing to that? I just think from the beginning. I think this is also extremely important for other people, and I think one of the positive experiences we had was when myself and Kim first started this. We literally took up a whole wall in the room I was staying in. We hammered cardboard into the wall and stuck paper on, and we literally did a complete process flow of logistics end to end. I'm talking how containers move around the world to every different type of vehicle and what the hub and spoke of logistics looks like. We took this concept to...
Hello, are you there? Hello.
Yes. Hello.
I lost you there for a bit. Can you just rewind a tiny bit?
No, 100%, Josh. So I was just kind of saying that, myself and Kim, we mapped out this literally logistics from end to end, from container to receiving end somewhere else in the world, and the whole hub and spoke. We literally mapped this whole thing out, and we took this first to Pillay-Ellis. They said, "You're absolutely ridiculous. There's no ways we're going to do this. We're going to go and push right back, and we're going to actually help you get to what the MVP is." In that, we literally, another development company, maybe like a bad, unethical development company could have just said, "Cool, give us 20 million rand, we'll build it for you." What they did is they broke it back down to the MVP. And then further to that, they said, well, actually, a company we work with, Afro Labs, have a stack, and I can probably get you about 60% of the way there to this MVP. We then went to Afro Labs, and then again, they said, okay, well, how can we do another MVP on this? They took it, they pushed back and back and back. It was never about money. It was about providing a solution as quick as possible and as robust as possible. And on that, that's for sure. That's really phenomenal as a company, because they could have easily, taken a whole bunch of money and said that's what you bought. But they really, every effort was made to make it as cost effective as possible, to market as quick as possible, and to be the best in the market. So that's I think you're going to really struggle to find companies like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, it was. I must say, yeah. I don't really believe in luck. I believe people make their own luck, but it was very serendipitous for you guys because I do know that Afrolab's whole, their whole thing, their whole ethos is really about making, adding value, bringing about positive change, and they're not really money focused. So of course there are lots of startups and entrepreneurs who don't have a lot of funding and they're kind of scared, but not all of them, cross paths with the right people. So that's really great. That actually leads me on to my next question, which is like, based on what you're saying about how you guys did this mind map and thought about, like how you were envisioning it. When you were with Afrolabs as you say, I know they already had the stack and it was just a matter of like tweaking things and that kind of thing. But was there anything sort of challenging or stressful about that process in terms of sort of having it end up the way you envisioned it? Was there anything that you found was a bit difficult kind of getting to that point?
I think there are a couple of stresses along the way. I mean, like lawyers, dealing with lawyers' contracts. I think it's a new experience, so I think that's always.
It's a whole new environment.
I think you're dealing. No. I'm just saying you're dealing with like an investor, your once, Afrolab once. So I think that process is stressful, and just different.
For me, day one was very different. So I think that was quite hectic. I left my job and I went down to be, this, they call it a product owner for then. We didn't have enough funding for Kim and I to be there. Kim was still working at the time.
Yeah,
so,
part-time,
I mean, it was literally, I went from this intense corporate environment to now I'm a product owner and I had no idea what I was supposed to actually be doing. So it was a little bit, and what quite nice, I suppose, positive from them was they just got going with it. So, yeah, you kind of like Bambi in the headlights for a little bit. But again, that was not frustration, but almost it was quite a challenging thing to get used to, this kind of crossing over to a tech environment if you literally have no idea what's going on.
I think we definitely, as business partners, we had to learn to communicate a different way of communicating. Obviously, me working part-time and trying to make sure that everything gets implemented correctly, and you want to be on the same page. So I think the whole process is brand new, and I think you don't really anticipate what skills you're going to learn and what skills you have to learn quite quickly in order to make sure that everything is as effective as possible.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Again, sort of going back with your your initial experience with Afrolabs, that whole process. What did you find sort of most enjoyable or satisfying about that process with them? Did you get that?
Yeah. So I think for me the one thing was, we set out, getting money is no joke at the moment. We got a set amount of money from an investor, and then there was this expectation. So we threw, money at this development, not knowing, we knew Afrolabs. We had no idea of their capabilities because the only time we can do it is the proofs in the pudding. So we put pretty much all the money we had at developing a product, integrated to our first client. We had nothing in the budget left after that. And I think for me, the biggest thing was on the day that we were supposed to go live, we went live and it worked. So for me, that nothing else matters, that we got that done, and we literally had high fives. We went out, we had a beer, we had some food, and that was, for me, that's all you can ask for out of partnering with the development company, and was quite lucky that through the process, I think we've all made friends with each other, and they've all, I think, taught myself and Kim a lot. So, I feel that they business colleagues and friends, to be honest. So.
Well, yeah, you definitely have all made very good impressions on each other. Like I said, my husband Stephen is one of the developers there, and he spoke very highly of you. So I think, it's obviously the beginning of a great friendship and a working relationship. Just going back a bit, I wasn't actually going to ask this, but since you brought it up, your investor is Lightstone, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me, did they have an active role during the development process, the development of the platform, or were they quite hands-off? What was your experience?
Not with the actual development of the software. They
Mm-hmm.
incredible support day to day when we need them, but not within the development. That answers
Okay.
your question.
No, yeah,
Yes.
they're quite adamant to let us go and do what we needed to do,
Yeah.
and not
Okay.
kind of any complexity, allow the focus to be there. One thing that they did, again, just from the support structure, and I think this is something that's actually very important going forward, again, allowing us to remain lean and doing what we've got to go and do.
Yeah.
They are a big organization, so all they did was they allowed us to use some of their business functions, accounting, their lawyers and stuff like that. And I think that's also really helped us a lot. Essentially, we have this up and running, business function, allowing us just to focus with Afro Labs on getting a product to market.
Right. Oh, that's yeah. That's really amazing. I mean, people have different stories about investors.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it can be a complete nightmare. Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes it's just too controlling. Other times there's no guidance. So it's always interesting to hear a different perspective. Yeah, that's great. So I just want to don't take too much of your time. I'm going to move on a little bit to the platform itself. Um, can you please kind of explain a bit more, flesh it out for me a bit on the data analytics functionality? What does it do or not do?
Did you say the data analytics
Yes,
part of the?
yes,
Sorry.
yes. The data analytics functionality. Can you just kind of go through that a bit with me? What does
Yeah.
it do or not do?
So we track every delivery every 5 seconds. We pull a
Mhm.
location point from the driver's phone and understanding where he is on his trip,
What status is it?
and that allows us to know what state he's in. So we know when he's left the shop. We know how long it's taken him to get to the customer. We know how long he's spent with the customer, and then again how long it takes him to get back. And what we do is all of this data, whether it's the customer rating,
Mhm.
understanding the actual different states in a delivery. Um, we use all of this to visualize some dashboards
Mhm.
and create, further business insights, and
Mhm.
it allows our clients basically to focus on specific key metrics like if they want to focus on driver behavior, for example, they might look at, okay, how long is it taking him to get out of the store, and can we work on that? Within our first client, Domino's,
Mhm.
they thought drivers take, like 1 minute to get out of the store when on average that was at like 5 minutes. And so
Wow.
them now having visibility on that
Mhm.
allowed that metric to be focused on and be improved on. And so with all the data that we're getting, we visualize it into dashboards, and I can maybe send you some, just so that you
Please
can
do.
so that you can
Please.
see some of the stuff that we're tracking and able to show. And then I don't know what else I was gonna say.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just
Unless
wanted to, I looked at
you
your
want
website.
to add anything.
No, not the data. I think
There's a lot we do with the data in terms of,
Yeah.
it allows us to understand where are more issues along that last mile,
I see.
section.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
allows us to then, when we see that there's a dead time here or there's an inefficiency over here, do we need to create another module on our platform in order to solve that? Or is it an operational issue where then, manager and store needs to, fix it? So I think
yeah,
that's
and
what
maybe
we.
just an example of one of the modules
Yeah.
that we've identified. In analyzing the customer time, we saw these big anomalies, so these huge jumps. The average customer time is 3 to 4 minutes, and then we saw these kind of 29 minutes, 35 minutes, and we thought there was a big driver issue.
Right.
And what we were actually to see when we analyzed that address was actually these residential complexes, and these guys actually physically can't get into them.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
so that was quite cool, and a lot of time it was just, and I think what this data also does is allows now when going back to your store, it's not the driver's issue. The driver
Yeah.
was there. The software showed that he was there. You can't give your driver a hard time. This is actually an operational issue that maybe with Kalban could sort out. So what we're starting to build, and it's something we want to implement once we've got more volume, is we want to create a communication channel through the Kawabanga platform to the consumer in this estate, and kind of let them know, we know you're in a complex. Can you please send a code through our platform? We'll send it to the driver. So again, we just try and further make, with these little modules, we try and make that whole last mile supply chain better for the business we're working with, their drivers and the customers.
Another thing that we've done is just through looking at the data, we've been able to create some machine learning algorithms to predict better driver scheduling, like rosters. And within Domino's, we were able to save a store 5,000 to 10,000 rand per month just with better driver scheduling.
Wow.
When you scale that over a network of 70 to 80 stores around the country, it's a substantial cost saving as an organization.
And it's what makes our platform have an instant and very high return on investment. Once implementing our software, you initially see those time savings, because that's what creating that visibility does. I think people take less chances, and so on and so on. But what it also does is there's a huge cost saving factor, and we've seen that with fuel saving, and we've seen that with better driver scheduling.
Right. That was it is some of the your other functionalities were quite sort of easy to understand, but I wasn't really sure exactly what the functionality really entailed and what it was capable of. On your website, just relating to what you're talking about now, you talked about based on averages from your customers, 46% less time with customers. 6,250 hours saved on driving, and 25% less petrol. Anything else you want to sort of add to that? Like, if you could just flesh it out for me. But I know you just talked about it. But anything else that you've noticed that has helped improve those various problem, those pain points?
I mean, those are really just some of them, because there are so many things that drivers, store managers in store tell us, that make such a difference. I mean, we've had managers tell us that they've thought that their phone was broken because they just don't get calls from customers anymore, So I think there are all these little things, drivers. It's always really humbling to see how it affects drivers and how grateful they are that they, now have routing on their phones, and now that they can call the customer. They love it when the customer comes downstairs and has been watching them and actually knows their name, and then calls them by name and says, like, "Hey Joel, I know it's you that's here to drop off my food." So they're these, I guess these feel-good little things. I don't know if there's any other big metrics that you...
No, not just, I think what's quite nice is that you both get metrics which create efficiency and cost saving, but like Kim says, there's a lot of feel-good along the whole system, which is nice. Both for the store, for the driver, and for the customer. I think that's something we always focus on, how do we achieve something for your dispatch point, your store, your company, for your driver, and for the customer. Just a quick one on that metric, just to obviously explain, I suppose, how we get that customer time reduced is, one thing we're notifying in a live manner of when the driver's leaving the store, and you can watch them come on the map. In Nando's environment, we've noticed, especially in the one store in Sandton City, there's a lot of offices, and there was huge wait times because literally the guy would get to, like say, the Investec building and wait at reception. Reception would phone someone on the 18th floor, they would have to get in a lift and come down. What's nice about this technology now is a lot of the time that person's already waiting downstairs. So the customer's getting their experience, getting their food quicker, and we making the driver spend a lot less time waiting around for customers. They get back to the store, the following customer gets a better service. So there's this whole knock-on effect, and by reducing those times allows Kim's algorithm to schedule even less. So we're giving these drivers, just all these knock-on, the more positive effects you add in terms of these efficiencies, the more knock-on you get in terms of cost saving and customer experience.
And we see these efficiencies within the first month. It's not a long process at all. That 46% decrease in customer time is an average, and it happens within the first month of implementing the software. Yeah.
Pretty much straight away. It's straight away.
Within Domino's, we saw Domino's has a very quick customer promise time of 30 minutes. And in the first store we implemented they had an 85% that they meet the customer promise time of 30 minutes, which is incredible. I mean, to have an 85% that you're meeting that customer promise time is an amazing metric by itself. After 1 month of implementing our software, that went up to 91%. So I think, which just to even create even more efficiency on an already incredible amount is quite amazing.
Quite rewarding as well, because we were a bit worried when we saw that. But, quite rewarding to see the platform did that organically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great. I mean, there's I love that there's a very strong human element, which maybe you don't see when you just look at the website and the statistics and the figures and the numbers, and talking with David, that's something he really wants to bring out in any copy that I do, is really the human element behind all of this. So all that stuff that you just mentioned is like very, very useful for me. Just 3 more questions.
Can I just mention one thing on that? You say this whole human element, and I think it's something that's becoming really exciting for us. If you don't mind me just telling you about like another little project we're working on.
Please do.
So what we're doing is working with a massive logistics company, and again it goes back to what we were talking about earlier within these retail centers. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say, how can we analyze all volume leaving these stores, whether it being fast food or clothing, or maybe a meal for tonight, like a cold meal or something like that, and how can we get drivers to come, and not this like really tough thing like in the Mr. D where they work 12 hours and they get a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. They eventually just working themselves dead and getting no money. What we're saying is, through this network and through using these really ethical logistics companies who believe that the drivers should get paid as much as physically possible, they're going to have a really nice base, and the cowa is going to help put really smart volume into that. So these guys are going to literally, in the environment that they're probably going to, if not double their actual potential of income without working these stupid hours. They're still going to work an 8-hour shift, but they're going to hopefully double their potential income of earning. So they're living better lives and they're providing better for their families. And I think that's something that's very, very important. And it's heavily reliant on cowa being successful in the way that what that platform looks like.
And I think that's exactly what is so exciting for me about our platform is it's like, we're solving these last mile problems, but we also, we can optimize route, but we can actually also optimize the earning potential of a driver. And that's exciting as well. Like, it's just, there's so much we can do in this space that we're really excited about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's as you mentioned earlier, it's also all about a knock-on effect, and a lot of people, are affected along the way. It's not just the supplier and the customer; there are people in the middle, and if everybody gets to benefit and everybody's lives improves, then obviously productivity improves, and it's just general feel good for everybody. So that's awesome. I'm definitely going to include that. From everything your platform has to offer, what are you most proud of, and where do you feel your platform really shines? Like your favorite, if you had to choose one aspect of what it does, where do you feel it really shines?
That's a hard. That's a hard question.
Yeah, you have to choose.
I mean, I don't know if this is the top one.
Right.
One of the things I really love and I'm really excited about is this new algorithm we're gonna implement that it helps the drivers in understanding. It suggests to them which orders to take and in what order, so that they can meet the customer promise time. It takes into account traffic, it takes into account the make time, the order place difference. And, I think, I feel like because we've worked so closely with every single party along the supply chain, it's the big clients as well as the driver who's on the ground hustling, coming in there, dealing with high volume of deliveries on a Friday night. It's insane. And you know what, like they're literally doing the best that they can. And so what I'm really excited about is just really giving them a tool that helps them to just like take some pressure off, you know. That's one thing I'm really excited about.
So I think for me, it's actually the same thing as on my mind. So I agree. For me, I would just like to take it one step further than that and just say, and that's becoming, I think, not just the algorithm that's being applied. It goes back to the core principle of cowbunga, I think. So that algorithm that Kim's built is not just for Nando's. It's a dynamic way of looking at an algorithm. And what's so nice now is we can take that and use that as the core principle when we focus on new clients. So it does. I think it goes back more to even higher to like the core business practice. You go to a new client. How do we use that algorithm to add intelligence right from the start to fit your specific need?
Yeah.
And then everyone wins. Everyone along that supply chain wins.
Yes, yeah.
You as the business, your driver, and your customer. But I definitely a big thing. It's really cool that these drivers are winning for us.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't understand that these drivers are people too, and like how much they have to deal with, like during hectic times, and how much abuse they get.
They take a lot of abuse.
They take a lot of abuse, and so yeah, I think it's really cool that we're making their lives easier.
Oh, that's really awesome. I love that. Yeah, it's just without condescending, like they kind of get ignored. Like what their pain points are. It's like nobody's even concerned. They get harassed daily, I'm sure, by customers. So yeah, very nice. Regarding the end-to-end awards, so you won the best enterprise solution category.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I mean, obviously that's a cool. Who the competitors were? I'm sure they were all innovative in their own right. But how do you think you succeeded where maybe others didn't as much? Do you have any?
So you just broke up. You just breaking up there. Sorry, do you mind saying
No
asking
problem.
the question again?
So yeah, I just want to, the fact that you won the best enterprise solution category. I don't know who your competitors were in that category. I'm sure they were all innovative, in their own right. But where do you think you sort of surpassed them? Any ideas, any insights into that?
To be honest, I haven't put much thought into this. Just quickly on that, we entered this competition, we got it through to the presentation rounds, and we're sitting in a room with, FMB and, the founders of Pineapple Insurance and, some extremely incredible technology.
Yeah.
For us, a win on the night was actually we just wanted to be nominated. We just wanted the Cowbunga logo up on the screen. And for some crazy great thing, we ended up winning. So it's still a bit of a blur. I can't remember who was actually in our category.
Me neither.
I think it was Snuppet, which is quite they're like a directory. So yeah, a bit of a blur of the night who our competition was, and I think that's just a pure example of the amount of phenomenal technology that was actually entered into this competition. And then I think, I'm not 100% sure what our edge was. Maybe they took it that we're the way in which we're approaching this, we're servicing a real need. And again, I don't know. I talk about it a lot, so maybe I talk about it too much. We go back to exactly what our clients want. So, in terms of that in that enterprise division, we're talking about big companies, Domino's Pizza, Nando's. In the fast food, we're talking about logistics companies like RTT and Courier. We're talking about the biggest guys in the industries, in their industries, and Cowbunga can go and do something that's specific to each individual one. And I don't know if that was one of the competitive advantages. I'm not actually 100% sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I don't. It was a shock. I mean, I can send you some pictures as well of like our faces. It really was just a shock and unexpected. And I mean, we're grateful. I mean, we went to the MTN Apple of the Awards last year to look at the events and stuff, and to think that a year later we would be winning was not it wasn't even a thought, you know. But we've worked hard. We've worked incredibly hard over the last year, and to be recognized means a lot. And to be recognized with, you know, all those great minds. You know, there were some incredible people that we met there that are doing incredible things in, you know, in this tech space. So absolutely like an honor to be part of that.
Yeah, no, that was, yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, it's totally phenomenal that, you know, a year later you won the category. Well, you know, I think you guys are being, you know, you're being very modest. I mean, I'm not saying you're pretending, but it's very modest. And yeah, you know, I looked at the category and I looked at, you know, they were setting quite a high standard, and I could see, looking at your platform, I could see how you satisfied those requirements. But it looked like competition looked so stiff that I was just curious to know, you know, if you sort of analyzed it at all. But yeah, if you have any other insights on that, you know, please feel free to mail me about it. And then very lastly, last question. Um, you know, in terms of, you know, working again with Afrolab, or not, what do you fantasize about your platform being able to do in the future? Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. We have big dreams.
No, we have massive dreams.
Yeah.
So I think the pressure is always going to actually go on Afro Labs, because sometimes Kim and I, we have these crazy ideas and we're just like, okay, Afro Labs, how do you make this a reality in terms of technology? I think they've shaken their heads a few times at us, but they've always seemed to achieve. Maybe just for me, I think for me, the biggest kind of passion project in the near future that we're speaking about is this kind of on-demand delivery. I think that's applying our platform at not just a client level, but it's actually applying it at an industry level. And I think the approach we're taking at it is one that no one else is kind of taking. And if we can, first of all, get it off the ground, and if it becomes a huge success, I definitely think, I mean, that's something to be extremely proud of. And yeah, that's my personal kind of passion goal.
Yeah, I think we have some really disruptive ideas for this on-demand section. Yeah, and I think we'll achieve them. We absolutely will.
And again, I think there's a lot of that really. What's that? Are you still there?
Are you still
Navina?
there? No.
Yeah. How's it, Navina? Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Oh, no.
No, that's
Are you gonna? Can you ask Navina?
Let's just put everything down and then. Hello?